What's going on, Canes fans? You're back for another episode with the Crute on the U, brought to you by the Scoop on the U. I've got my co-host Luke Cheney from All Hurricanes. Luke, how's it going, man?
Doing well as always. A couple of key, not even key, some big time commits this past week that have pledged to Miami, and yeah, it's been a very active week in recruiting since we last spoke.
Yeah, definitely. Where would you like to start? I mean, is it Cormani? Where do you want to start here?
I think we should probably start with Cormani, given that I don't think any of us saw this coming.
I I didn't predict it, bro. I didn't predict him to Miami, unfortunately, and I'm glad I was wrong. I'm so glad I was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, like the general consensus by pretty much every national recruiting analyst was, oh, he's going to Florida.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where all the smoke was. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you all have seen, 247 pre-recorded a clip of him going to Florida, or of them talking about him going to Florida. So that was what everyone expected. And even during the commitment itself, as I'm sure a lot of you have seen the video, the general vibe in the room was kind of one of surprise.
yeah,
Um, he kept his recruitment very tight knit, to the point where there wasn't much intel on where he was going. I think everyone just kind of assumed that he would go to Florida. Brian Smith of All Hurricanes wrote a really great piece kind of on the backstory of Cormani's recruitment, and how pretty much everything was kept or everything regarding intel and info was kept within the Lakeland area, and those local coaches and people who were actually connected personally to Cormani. So definitely, I wouldn't say a weird recruitment, just more of a quiet recruitment. And for Miami, I mean, they just got the best defender in this class, the highest ranked recruit ever since these rankings have started coming out in like the
yeah,
past 23 years.
yeah.
What more can you say about him? Well, we'll get into the type of player that he is, but I mean, like, and just to go off on a little tangent, like when I heard the news, I mean, I like I was in class. I hardly even like remembered that he was committing, just because I assumed Florida. Um, and when I got the notification from Hayes, I was like, "What? Like, is this?" I mean, I it's not like I didn't believe him, but I was still like, I took a minute to process this, and then I was sent over the video, and I was like, "Oh wow, this actually just happened." So yeah, I mean, that's how I processed the whole Cormani McLean news, and definitely surprising for sure.
Do you by any chance know, did Damari Brown say anything about his commitment date?
He did not.
Okay.
Well, he mentioned something about December back
Okay.
back in August, but
Yeah.
that
That's a long time ago.
that's a long time ago. I would take that with a grain of salt. I mean, he could stretch his recruitment out to that early National Signing Day period. We'll see. A lot of people, or say some people, expected him to commit tonight. It's not what
Yeah.
he did. He released a top four with Bama, Miami, Florida State, Clemson. Not really any surprise there. When I had the chance to speak
Yeah.
to him a couple weeks ago, I mean, he mentioned those four schools as the schools that were heavily pursuing him. The other two schools in his top six, Oklahoma, LSU, not really as involved anymore. So, nothing overly surprising there, but I like Miami's chances with Damari Brown. And we've spoke endlessly about the type of player that he is, but I mean, whenever he will commit, who knows when that will be. He's definitely a must get for Miami. He's a sensational player.
Only reason I brought him up is just because I got a guy here in the chat, that's just been, he just wants to know exactly what's going on with Damari Brown. So I just wanted to get that because we can't skip over Cormani. We can't. I'm not going to let this happen. I'm sorry. We're not going to skip over Cormani.
Nope.
Um, this, I mean, like you mentioned, on the field, athletically gifted. I mean, as hell, so smooth. Hips, feet, transition, timing. The dude has it all. He offers it all. The length. He has the physical stature that you want. And remember, we spoke about this last show. Remember, I had his former coach on, Coach Bearfield, who was at Lake Gibson just for a year, and unfortunately things were a mess there and didn't work out, sadly. But he told me flat out that getting Coach Adai was what was it for us. I didn't know if I should believe him full bore at the time. I didn't know, but he told me that in his mind, if Coach Adai stayed at Georgia, he figures Cormani would have gone to Georgia.
Yeah.
So us getting Coach Adai, that might have been the low key piece that really, really, really helped us that no one's talking about a whole lot.
For sure. I mean, that's, his arrival to Miami definitely brought those connections in. Another connection that's worth mentioning, of course, is Coach Van Dyke. That, I mean, just what he's been able to do on the recruiting trail and the role that he had in Cormani's recruitment could not be or should not be understated. He played such a pivotal role. He is a fantastic recruiter, and he's someone that Miami needs to hold on staff in whichever position for as long as possible, because he is an absolute star. Just you mentioned with Cormani, just a ridiculous ball hawk. I mean, 9 interceptions as a sophomore, 6 interceptions as a junior.
But it's effortless. It's like it's effortless.
It's effortless. His closing speed is ridiculous. His instincts are tremendous. His played
closing speed. And I've said it before. His closing speed reminds me a little bit of Richard Sherman. He'll bait quarterbacks into making bad throws, and he'll burn them, bro. He'll burn them.
Mm-hmm.
That takes talent, and that takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of balls.
It does. I mean, he's such a smart player, and that just stands out so much from watching his film. And as you mentioned, how he baits quarterbacks, how he reads their eyes, how he can cover the field just so effortlessly. He's also a willing tackler. He can stand out on his own on an island. He doesn't get burned on these 1v1 matchups. He plays press coverage, he plays off coverage. I mean, you can just go on and on about what he does so well. And he's the number one cornerback in the country. If you're looking, I guess, some of his negatives, you want to see his technique clean up a little bit. That is one thing where it's
he's raw.
He's raw. He's not super refined. His projection is a ceiling projection. His ceiling is.
But that's what makes him the number one player, is because the untapped upside. Because it's still a ton of untapped upside, and that's what's so exciting about the guy, dude. I mean, you could see a player as good as him tap out at that level in his senior year, and he's still going to an FBS school. Cormani hasn't even tapped out yet, bro.
Yeah, untapped potential, as you said. He's drawing comparisons to a Sauce Gardner, for example, formerly of Cincinnati. Now he's playing with the Jets. He's already, Gardner, one of the best top 10, top 15 cornerbacks in the NFL. The second best rookie cornerback behind Tariq Woolen. I will say to you as a Seahawks fan, I'll give you that. But with Cormani, it's 6'2", 160, freakishly long arms. You want to see him gain weight, and he will add that weight.
He will.
He will add that weight. He's not going to stay at 160. I've mentioned this before, but Corey Couch entered Miami at around 145, and now I think he's around that 170 range. So Cormani will add that healthy game weight, which will only add to what he can do. As we both said, his ceiling is ridiculously high.
Think about the way he plays now and the finesse that he plays with. Mm-hmm. And then just imagine once he adds college strength to that. and he starts meeting guys up at the line, starts bullying them at the line. Bro, I mean, this is a complete package we're talking about. And within 2 years of the weight room, possibly, we're talking
Mhm.
about the full package. I mean, the guy ready to compete and ready to go out there and possibly, be looking to earn snaps during that second year, or especially that third season, especially if you red shirts, of course,
Yeah,
for that first year.
I
But
mean,
it, incredible player, bro, just
yeah,
incredible.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, because I think he's too good to. I mean, I don't think you redshirt a guy like that, man. I don't know. I
He
mean,
might,
it's like
yeah, he might play the whole season.
I expect him now. Granted, because he is raw, I don't expect him to be that off rip number one corner, all ACC type player. I don't expect that off rip as a freshman. But I think just given the current state of Miami's cornerback room, and while the secondary has improved throughout the season, I'm not going to sit here and say they haven't. That's still very much a weakness, and I think Cormani will fill in to definitely a role early on. But I mean, just what a tremendous addition! It is. I tweeted this out. I think this was the biggest statement of the Mario Cristobal era up to this point.
Yeah.
So Miami hasn't had that on-field success that a lot of people expected, including myself. We're not going to sit here and say they haven't. But I mean, this was one of the biggest recruiting wins ever for Miami. And I mean, that's just a testament to Cristobal's recruiting prowess and the staff that he's put together because, I mean, just what a job getting a player like that.
I mean, the kids that are with us right now that are committed, they believe in the future of Miami. They're looking at it now. They're saying, yes, this is tough. This is rough to watch, but they're looking at the future of Miami, and they trust these coaches to get it right. And that's what I've gotten especially from the 2023 class when I talked to them. They trust this staff. Absolutely. And here's a little comment here. He says, from Philly Kane, I'm going to be greedy and I want Pancake as well. Pancake Honcho, no doubt. We need Pancake Honcho on our offensive line, man. Samson Okunlola would be, I mean, dude, imagine Malago and Okunlola. Oh, dude, just boom.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems like his recruitment has gone a little more silent over the past couple months. I mean, there was so much buzz with him in Miami in the summer, and some people thought he would pull the trigger then, but I mean, his recruitment I expected to last until possibly early National Signing Day. We'll see. I think he actually may have released a date, or he is releasing a date quite soon. That is something that I will look into. But I mean, yeah, just adding Pancake Honcho would just be just an I mean, Miami's offensive line class right now is great. It's phenomenal. You have Francis Mauigoa, Connor
Frankie
Liu,
Tinolau.
Frankie Tinolau, Tommy Kinsler, Antonio Tripp. I mean, you have a lot of different guys who can do a lot of different things. I mean, they each fill a role. You have your developmental guy in Tinolau. You have your day one starter. I expect him to be one in Mauigoa. You have a future, I think, all ACC caliber center, possibly in Connor Liu. You have a great interior lineman in Antonio Tripp. You have this athletic swing tackle like guy in Tommy Kinsler. You have a lot of guys who can do a lot of different things. And
Tripp is a badass, bro. Tripp is a badass.
Yes. I mean, yeah. I mean, he started day one at IMG. The talent they have on their offensive line, that's hard to do no matter who you are. So I mean, he is good. He is very good, and I mean, just adding just an athletic freak like Honcho, like Okunlola at the tackle position would just be another different player to add to an already diverse class. So we'll see what happens with his recruitment.
There was another player that you wanted to mention here besides Cormani. Feel free to, bring him up here and let's have a little discussion.
Yeah, so I mean, we got Miami got another commitment this past week. A little bit of a surprise to many, just because it was a surprise flip. Caleb Spencer, former Oklahoma commit, flipped to the Hurricanes, and Spencer was one of those secret visitors for the North Carolina game that is worth talking about. And I presume he was sold on that visit, pulled the trigger, 3 weeks later, now he's a Hurricane. Um, Spencer's a 3-star prospect, and I feel like that doesn't do him justice as a player because I really like what he brings to the table. He is a safety, 6'2", 210, or 6'2" and a half, excuse me, 210. Very, very versatile. I mean, very versatile. Someone who, I don't expect to be that kind of center fielder, free range safety. I don't. He doesn't cover ground like that. He doesn't cover space, horizontally across the field, and
So
that
is he more of the actual true linebacker?
I don't know. I mean,
It's tough.
yeah. I mean, it's a little hard to pin him into one position right now. I
Yeah.
guess if I would guess, I mean, I think Miami really wants him initially as a safety. We'll move him over to linebacker if they have to. I see him as kind of like that, Gil Frierson type role. Someone who is an outside linebacker, but at the same time can match up against your tight ends, your bigger receivers, just a chess piece within the defense. And those are needed. What one player that he has been compared to a little bit, just versatility wise, is Isaiah Simmons, who I'm sure you all remember him, was a fantastic defender for Clemson.
Yeah.
Someone who played all over the place for the Tigers, and I think that's what we could see Spencer do at Miami. Could, as I mentioned, cover those tight ends and bigger receivers. He can stuff and fill gaps in the run game. He can rush the passer. He is someone who is one to hit stick a little bit. He lays the boom. He really does. He is an aggressive tackler, and I definitely a big time addition for Miami. They're just stacking talent right now in their defense backfield. That DB room is looking a lot different than it did recruiting wise just 2 weeks ago with the additions of McLean and Spencer, the reclassification from Jackson.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent there now in 2023, and that's big time because a talent infusion is definitely needed. And I really think Spencer is a very, very key player to add into this class.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. We got a question here from Young Bucks. It says Nicholas Harbor. What's the status with him? Dude, that's a great question because he's really, really stayed quiet. Harbor has really kept things within his circle. I haven't heard a leak at all. Have you, Luke? Have you heard anything?
Yeah, there was a lot of smoke with him, in the summer with him in Miami. It took that OV in June. I wouldn't expect Harbor to become a Hurricane. I mean, he's taken some of his OVs now. He went to South Carolina in September, went to Michigan in September. I went to Maryland, or he will be going to Maryland in December. Is also scheduled to go to LSU in December. You know, he already took that Miami OV. They already got him on a visit. It looks right now like LSU or Michigan, if I were to, I guess make a bet. But like I said, he stayed more silent. There hasn't been
Yeah.
all this smoke. He looks like he wants to really prolong this recruitment until as late as possible. Not saying it's a bad thing, just until he's ready to decide. But I wouldn't expect him to come to Miami. But at the same time, I'm not overly involved with this recruiting situation, so I can't speak for himself. So who really listen after the Kwamani McLean commitment? I think anything is off. There's nothing that's really off the table anymore. So we'll see. We'll see.
Seriously, I mean that's what makes me feel the same exact way. We have a question here from Philly Kane. He says, "What's the deal with Samuel and Pemba? Is he Georgia's to lose? We need more guys in the trenches." I mean, I'm all about building guys in the trenches. I understand that completely. I'm not sure that we are that high on Samuel and Pemba's list. I think if we are, we're probably about third, would be my guess. You know, he has respect for us and he has respect for the staff. He clearly does.
Clearly does, yeah.
But I think the SEC is calling. Yeah, I believe the SEC is calling his name, and it's calling it pretty heavy, and it's calling it often.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. I looks like a Georgia lean at this point. Tennessee is also very involved. LSU is also very involved. As you mentioned, looking like he's SEC bound, but Miami's definitely involved there. Or they at least they were involved in summer. Such a tremendous player for IMG. And speaking of IMG, I want to hear this story that you mentioned to me about Francis Mauigoa because in it, tell us. Interesting, very interesting, and I think everyone should hear this out.
I believe that we have got ourselves a nice little anchor to keep him locked into the University of Miami. One of our own, one of our commits, one of our very own, actually got him hooked up with a girlfriend at University of Miami who plays on the volleyball team. So she's actively at Miami on the volleyball team playing for them. If that's not an anchor to get a guy to come in, I don't know what is, honestly. And as far as I know, from what I understood, this is Mauigoa's first girlfriend. So this is, I mean, he's a quiet guy. He keeps to himself. He's very, very reserved. So I had to get that information from somebody else who was directly involved, of course, with it. But dude, I mean that doesn't hurt us. That doesn't hurt us one bit. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's just funny. I mean, listen. I mean, there's with Mauigoa. There's the I feel like a lot of people have, raised questions about, hey, Tennessee was obviously one of his finalists. I'm sure
Yeah.
Tennessee is still reaching out, and Tennessee, you can make an argument that the best team in the country. They are the best, or they're ranked, I think they are ranked number one in the first college football playoff rankings. But Mauigoa looks very locked in with Miami. Let's say that. And this story only reaffirms that notion.
And the other thing I'll say from this is that it was a fellow IMG player that he knows very well that helped him hook this up. So this is the IMG brotherhood hookup type thing. So this is a good move. I was happy to hear
The
that.
the IMG pipeline to Miami works in many ways, it appears. So
Seriously, in many ways, and as long as we got guys on our team who are willing to do whatever it takes to help us land elite recruits and keep them there, I praise those kind of kids who are doing that for us behind the scenes, because I don't know if fans quite realize how hard some of these kids are working behind the scenes. Some of our commits, how hard they're working behind the scenes to get kids to come to Miami. They really are.
yeah, sure. And I mean, I guess to transition to that just a little bit, a quiet week in high school football.
We got our guest backstage here,
Oh, we
buddy.
do. We will transition to that afterwards. But why don't you introduce our guest for today?
We have got with us, guys, here. This is a special guest, no doubt about it. I got a chance to watch his film. I really, really liked his film a whole lot. This is 2024 defensive back from Chandler High, Kennedy Urlacher. And Urlacher is a name you guys might be familiar with, definitely. How you doing today, Kennedy?
Good. How are you?
We're doing great, man. We're doing great. Just thank you for taking the time to join the show and giving us some of your free time. We truly appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
So just off the jump, man, what's your current height and weight?
6 foot, like 185 or 190, around there.
Okay, okay. And this last off season, did you do any training that you feel has helped you out so far this season?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Was there anything specific?
Getting my eyes right, in the 7-on-7 tournaments, just to help read the receivers and watch the quarterback and stuff like that.
Did you work with any specific trainers this off season?
No.
Okay, okay.
Hey, what's up, man? So, first off, I just want to ask, I guess, to those who are more unfamiliar with your game, what would you consider your biggest strengths right now as a player?
I mean, definitely big hits. Um, Being fast to the ball and making plays when I can.
Mhm. I mean, you mentioned big hits. Do you play, more in the box at Chandler, or are you more of a free safety, or I guess what's your position right now?
Yeah, I'm a free.
You're free? Got you, man.
Yes.
Sounds good. And then, I also want to ask, in contrast, what are some areas of your game where, you're still looking to improve on moving forward?
Uh, just breaking down the tackle sometimes because there'll be sometimes I get a little bit too happy in the open field. And I try to go for the kill shot and I miss. But that's really it.
How's this current season going for your high school team?
It's going great. I mean, we lost the last game, which sucks, but overall we're looking great.
How many games have you guys had a chance to play so far?
8,
8. Okay, what's your record?
7-1.
7-1. Okay, impressive, impressive. I know you guys play against some very talented competition.
Yep.
So what are colleges, when they talk to you and stuff, when they get the chance to, what position are they trying to recruit you at mostly?
So it's either outside linebacker or strong safety, or
Okay.
sometimes free actually, a little bit of free too.
And are you
Uh,
comfortable with either one of those positions?
yeah, I think probably strong safety or free or two. I mean, I could see myself playing linebacker too, but strong safety would probably be the most fitting thing to me.
Nice, man. Then, I know you just got that recent offer from Miami. I guess
hmm
tell me, man, how did that come about? How the offer come about?
So I had knew because he or the coaches had talked to my coach like 2 days ago or 2 days before it happened,
Mhm.
and I was just waiting on the call, and then it finally came, and Coach Smith offered me.
Have you spoken to any other coaches besides Coach Smith, or up to this
I
point?
texted with Coach Cristobal a little bit too.
Got you. And I mean, just what are your first impressions on him?
He's real cool.
Mm.
Yeah, I like him.
How are you enjoying this recruiting process so far?
A lot. I haven't really had a chance to go on visits yet or anything like that, but
Mhm.
I'm excited to definitely do all that and really experience it.
You still have a year to go, but is there any factors in your mind already that you want to see from the college that you pick? Is it relationship with coaches, a winning background, development, those kind of things?
Uh, Probably relationship with coaches is big, and then probably just I'll say the background too. Yeah.
Who's showing love right now? What schools are really showing love to you a whole lot?
U of A is like the most out of everybody.
University of Arizona?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what about fan bases online? Is it the same thing with the Arizona fan base, or is there some other fan bases that are really catching your attention on social media?
Miami and Nebraska are top two for sure, no doubt.
I love hearing that.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, you mentioned Arizona. Who are some of the coaches that I guess you really started to form relationships with over there?
The DB coach, the head coach, and the recruiting coordinator. Really, all three of those guys I talk to a lot.
Got you. And then I've noticed. I mean, your recruitment, at least according to some of the lists here, has really started to shoot up as of late. I mean, getting all these new offers. I guess what does it mean to you to see your recruitment really skyrocket?
Uh, I mean, it really is nice to see because working hard and all that, and then seeing it pay off is nice.
Mm. And then I mean, just ask another question about Miami. So, from what you know about them as a program, what are your first thoughts on them, or I guess what do you know about them?
So my favorite player, Ed Reed. I
Mm.
know he went there obviously, and their defense just overall, especially historically, has been known for the big collisions and hard hits and stuff like that.
Actually, gonna backtrack for a second because I forgot to ask you how was last high school season for you guys?
For us, we were, I think, 13-2. We lost in the state championship.
Okay. So you guys have got that kind of caliber team that you're gunning for another title. And you're gunning
Yeah.
for that spot.
Uh-huh.
No doubt. Who is your guys' biggest rival school?
Or Hamilton, actually.
What happened last time you guys played Hamilton?
We lost. We lost by 3 or 7. I can't remember what exactly it was.
They're usually pretty competitive games.
Yeah, usually, yeah, they always are.
And I guess what I would say is what do you feel makes an elite or a dominant outside linebacker or a safety, either one of those kind of guys, anybody who's covering on defense, what kind of physical appearances are the best to have? What kind of mental appearance is the best to have during that?
Mentally, just doing whatever you have to do and not being scared of anything at all. And then physically, just getting off blocks, being fast, always running to the ball, and doing your job all the time.
I got it. Just a question here for you. If this is game week film study, okay? We're talking about the offense you're going to get ready for, and we're going to specifically focus in on the pass game. All right. What are some of the first things you try to identify in your opponent's pass game when you're watching film?
How much the quarterback stares down the receivers and who runs the post routes or the seam routes.
Gotcha, man. And then, I want to ask you. So I know you mentioned Ed Reed, but who are some of the other? They can be college players, NFL players, defensive backs, whoever that you really look at their games and take things from them and just add it into yours.
I like Buda Baker a lot because I mean he's a safety and he's not big at all, but I like his mindset that he's just gonna go down and hit you no matter what.
Gotcha. And then I know y'all played Perry this week. From watching them on film, what are some of the things that stand out?
Their scheme is really good. Like their scheme can present problems to our defense.
Well, I mean, I guess what about their scheme is challenging?
Uh, the way they do the RPO stuff could be hard because the like ends and the tackles and then obviously the linebackers have to be sharp in their responsibilities.
I want to ask here, with your father being such an accomplished football player, Brian Urlacher, a name, everybody knows that watches football. What kind of advice has he been able to give you during this high school process and during your recruitment process that's really helped you a lot?
He always says if you can play, they'll get you. And he always just says, really, all he tells me is about my effort and my attitude. The only two things you can control. And make sure you always do your best in those two.
You have 1 year of football left in high school, but when you're done there, what do you want your legacy to be? Is it of a champion? Is that how you want to go out? Definitely.
Yeah, definitely a champion.
Have you won a championship while you've been in high school so far?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So getting that either this year or next year. I mean that's the big goal then for sure.
Yeah, hopefully both.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And what else I'd ask you else is just we've got a little feel of who you are and how you play, but you personally, how do you your game? How do you play?
I play fast, physical, um, smart, or at least I try to play smart. And I just give 100% effort every play.
Gotcha, man. So I just have one more question for you. Definitely very off topic compared to everything you've been asked so far. Game day playlist. Who's on it? What are you listening to?
Polo G.
Straight Polo G?
Yeah, that's my favorite rapper.
Got you.
Just got a couple questions for you here, and we'll close it out for you, man. Are you playing any other sports right now?
No, I'll do track in the off season, but that's it.
What do you run? What do you run in track?
So this is actually my first year running track.
Okay. Okay. Hey, man, nothing wrong with that, dude. It's gonna help.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
hmm
So, what gets Kennedy Urlacher most excited on game day? What gets you pumped up more than anything else?
Uh, Honestly, seeing my teammates make plays, like obviously I come into the game with high energy, but once I see my teammates start doing good things, it makes me go up too.
Man, I just got one last question for you. This is the question that I ask every single recruit that we've ever brought on this show. Why do you love the game of football? Where do you get that passion to go out there and compete at the highest level on a weekly basis?
Um, to me, it's just fun. I mean, to go with your friends and all your teammates and just play and just getting to hit people and not get in trouble for it is fun too.
You know how often that's an answer we get
Yeah,
is you get to hit people or put hands on people and not have anything to worry about. That's
yeah.
especially defenders. Defenders love saying that, man. So,
hmm
Luke, did you have anything else for our great guest here?
No, that's all I have, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
For sure.
Kennedy, thank you so much, man, for taking this time. We truly appreciate it. We'll stay in touch and we'll bring you back on in the future so we can update the Canes fans about your development and your recruitment.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right, guys. Kennedy Urlacher. I mean, that is a last name that if you don't know that last name, you don't know football. I mean, that is a powerhouse of a player right there. And his son comes across to me as one of those guys who kind of speaks softly and carries a big stick, kind of attitude, like he's not all about the talk, not about the jabber. He wants to just lay the wood, dude. He wants to just put guys out. He wants to play physical. And I think that that's why Miami likes him so much, is that he wants to play physical. He wants to go out of his way to play physical. I like adding him to our defense a lot. I would like I would like adding a player like him to our defense a lot. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
For sure. I mean, and he draws some parallels to, we spoke about this player earlier, Caleb Spencer, just in the way that, a more, I guess, bigger bodied physical safety who can hit, who can play in the box, who can play some of that outside linebacker role, but can also, go out and cover. Very versatile player. Kennedy is, and I mean, his recruitment definitely heating up. He's received offers from Miami, Colorado State, Nebraska, another school that I'm forgetting just in the past week. So
Iowa offered as well.
Boom, there it is. That's the school I was forgetting. I mean,
which shows you that means that he's getting more attention from the bigger schools. They're starting to recognize him.
Yeah, oh no, for sure. I mean, Arizona's been recruiting him for a while now, and it looks like his recruitment is becoming, more national, which is obviously great for him. I'm sure he's gonna get a lot more love as this season progresses, going into next season. And I mean, his ceiling is super high, and I can't wait to see how he develops as a player.
Man, I'm just always excited to have something like that with a fantastic football player's son come on our show so he can speak his mind. And I just like his attitude, bro. He's simple. He's straight to the point. No BS. Just get the job done. And that's what I want at Miami. That's seriously what I want at Miami. Screw the nonsense. Screw all the celebrating. Ooh, I made a tackle. Guess what? Make a tackle and then go out and do it again. And do it again and do it again and do it like you're supposed to. That's what I want to see at Miami, bro. And hopefully we're getting those kind of players to come in. Yeah. So transitioning now to, the Florida high school scene. It's a very off week, very slow week, just because of, a lot of teams have finished their seasons already. There are a couple games, but there's a game that sticks out to you that you really want to talk about. So why don't you start off with that one for us?
Yeah, I mean, so as you mentioned, a lot of more of a slower week just because a lot of teams are finishing or have finished their regular season, transitioning into the playoffs very shortly. So, quiet in that regard. First game I should mention, probably the game of the week in South Florida, really, is Dillard versus Ely. Dillard coming in this game 6-3, their 3 losses coming against very, very good teams.
And early in the season.
Early in the season, can't stress that enough. They've lost to Chaminade, Madonna, St. Thomas, and Central. Three top 10 undefeated teams in the country. So they've played some really good teams, and they've won the rest of their schedule. They're playing against an undefeated Ely team who have looked very good this season. They've looked very good, albeit they haven't played quite the competition that Dillard has. But I mean, it's more of a rivalry game. I'm more familiar with the rivalry when it comes to South Florida high school basketball between Dillard and Ely, because that is always super fun to watch and super fun, to obviously be a part of. But I mean, I expect this to be a competitive matchup as well. A whole bunch of talent on both sides. Probably that more prominent D1 Power 5 talent that's relevant to Miami on Dillard. But I expect it to be a great matchup. They play this Saturday. And aside from that, Chaminade plays Treasure Coast. Exactly, Treasure Coast. Treasure Coast enters this game at 3-5. Chaminade has played 3 straight games in which they have not allowed a point. I think they've outscored their opponent something like 190 or 180 something to 0 in those games.
I know they've scored 63 points the last 2 games and given up 0. I know that.
Yeah, and then the week before they beat Gulliver Prep 28-0, and that probably would have been even more lopsided if there wasn't a weather delay or something of that nature. They play this week against Treasure Coast, talent advantage there. I'm not going to give a score prediction. I expect Chaminade to win big, though, and really, cement their status as arguably the best team in Florida. I know there's a lot of contention between them and Central, obviously, ahead of playoff time.
I mean, Central playing St. Brendan. St. Brendan 7-2. Kind of playing weak schedule. You just kind of figure this will be another one where Central just washes them out.
Yeah, I think with that game, I think that's the first playoff game for them. I think on the 11th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's another game where St. Brendan,
they earned their playoff spot.
No, they absolutely did. I'm not taking anything from them, but they're a very monstrous matchup they have against Miami Central, who, I don't think they're satisfied with their last performance against Columbus. I don't. I mean, yes, they won, but at the end of the day, they did let up a 35-7 halftime lead. And Central, very strong 9-0 season. I expect them to roll in the playoffs. I expect them to roll in this game. We'll see what happens, but I definitely think Central has something to prove come playoff time.
What do you feel about Lakeland versus Lakewood? Lakewood coming in at 6-3, Lakeland 8-0.
Advantage Lakeland. They obviously hold a recent Miami commit.
Yes, sir.
I wonder who that could be.
A big name. Big name.
Big name. Come on, McLean. If you weren't already getting the memo, but getting the hint. But I like Lakeland in this game. 8-0. They had a very strong season up to this point. I expect that to improve to 9-0.
Playoffs are going to be fun.
They are.
When we start getting into this next, not this opening round is going to be a couple cupcakes. We start getting into those next rounds, dude. We're going to see some battles, bro. It's going to be fun. This is going to be fun to talk about, honestly. It'll be a lot of fun to talk about.
Oh yes. Now the playoff content that is going to come from this channel. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping to catch a couple of matchups myself. it'll be a lot of fun for sure. I can't wait.
Well, one thing I will tell our fans is that we are going to be looking at these games deep. There's no doubt about it. We're going to be studying these games. We're going to be looking at more than just stats, video, film, everything. We're going to be reviewing this stuff because some of these matchups coming in the future are going to be absolutely incredible. And when they are, we want to make sure that we've got all the info you guys need. So just be prepared, guys, because we're going to be putting in that work like usual. Dude, Luke, man, just thank you for your time again, bro. Always a pleasure to have you come on a Wednesday night, talk recruiting, man. It was fantastic to have Kennedy Urlacher on, Brian Urlacher's son. I mean, that just amazing to get a chance to talk with him. An up-and-comer who is getting better and better and better all the time. And you can see it in his offers like we talked about. His offers are showing that he's getting better and better and getting more recognized. So once again, guys, thank you for joining us. This was the Crude on the U, brought to you by the Scoop on the U. Just was fantastic night, man. I just thoroughly enjoyed it.
Another great show, another big time recruiting weekend for Miami. A lot of as you all can imagine, a lot of visitors will be at this Miami FSU game as always. So, I mean, we can go on and on about the on-field implications of this game. It's Miami FSU. It's always a rivalry game. It's always going to be very close, or usually very close. But there are a lot of recruiting implications as well, because there are a lot of very, 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 very good players who will be in attendance.
We will be definitely talking about those implications. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, thank you guys for joining us again. Have a great rest of your night. And always, it's all about the U. Go Canes.